It was a dark and stormy night. Iris's parents just left to attend the Halloween town meeting. It was gloomy. There was nothing to do in the old rickety house. So, Iris sat on the lavender couch set in the middle of the lightly lit living room, staring out the window until she heard a slight creak of a door. She looked over smoothly to listen again, but there was no sound. She turned back to the window. A few minutes passed, and she got bored watching the rain slowly drop to the floor. Iris began to wander around the living room. She thought to herself how easy it is to notice details once you actually have the time to. The sound of the grandfather clock chimed gently in the background as she sat on a desk filled with stacked newspapers. She began to read the cover, curious in that moment about the latest news. Iris didn't care much for the news or new trends. To her, it was overrated. The title was big. The huge Times New Roman font stated loudly that a murderer had escaped from prison. She scoffed to herself,
Whatever.
throwing the paper on the floor. How can the police officers be so stupid not to realize someone breaking out? She walked upstairs. The sound of the annoying creaks rang from the steps. Once she got upstairs, she headed towards the bathroom. Flickering the light, she stared into the mirror at her reflection. Iris played in her red-dyed curly hair. She thought to herself about how different she was from the other girls at school. Her mom always told her that being different was a good thing and to cherish that power. It might come in handy. Her thoughts were interrupted with footsteps running across the hallway. Her face broke into shock, and she accidentally bumped into the bathroom vanity. The hairspray and the bathroom necessities all fell to the floor. She looked quickly out the bathroom doorway.
What the hell was that?
She thought to herself. She waited to see any movement in the dark or other alerting sounds. There was nothing. She walked out of the bathroom, turning on the hallway lights to look around and saw nothing. Her breath and heart unsteady, she tried to calm herself, breathing in and out a bit. She began feeling like a person was watching her. She turned and she found a shadowy figure that almost looked like it could be a person, but as she blinked, the figure was gone. She began to rub her head, thinking that it was all just a mental thing. She makes her way into the kitchen to grab a cold bottle of water. As she opens the refrigerator, a man grabs her by her neck and begins to start strangling her. Iris grabs the water bottle from the already open fridge and pokes the man in the eye, gets loose and then makes a run for her bedroom. But before she makes her way to the room, she turns back and looks at the individual. His face looked awfully familiar. Then it clicked with her. It was him, the guy who escaped from prison. She quickly closed the door as she heard him screaming in pain after being poked in the eye with the bottle. She ran to her bed to grab her phone, only to realize that her phone was still on the kitchen table.
Oh my god, why is this happening to me?
She started to panic, grabbing her hair, thinking of a plan as she looked around her room.
Weapon. I need a weapon.
She thought to herself what she can use, and just then she heard loud footsteps booming up the steps. She ran to the door and locked it as quickly as possible. Iris turned around to notice an old wooden brush given to her by her grandmother. The brush was thick and bulky. She patted it in her hand.
This will do.
In that same second, she jumped to the noise of banging on the door. Boom, boom, boom. The sound got louder with every hit of the door. She backed away, thinking of a way to escape. The banging got louder. She noticed the doorknob slowly twisting while the banging continued. Iris could feel a drop of sweat sliding down her forehead. She turned toward her window. The dark sky was staring back at her, almost like an evil spirit laughing at her attempt to stay alive. The door banged open. Iris turned around while letting out a sudden gasp. There he was, standing in the doorway. For a second, it was quiet. A nervousness came across Iris, making her knees go numb. The man charged towards her, jumping over the bed. She screamed and moved toward the walk-in closet. He followed her. Iris hid behind a row of long jackets and coats that linked all the way to the floor. Stay quiet, she thought, holding her mouth.